Hello, I'm David Sillett and my colleague here, Chris Franklin. We're from the development team in RPA Rural Development Team and here to talk to you about the full application process for growth programme. So you've been successful in getting your expression of interest endorsed. So you've crossed the starting line and you're still in the race. But it is a competitive process, so only the best full applications will be successful. The purpose of this video is to inform you about exactly what we look for when we appraise a full application and give you some tips on how you can strengthen your full application to improve the likelihood of your being successful. It's important to remember as well that this is the first step, so please don't start work on your project, incur any costs or place any order before we've given you a decision and you've signed a grant funding agreement. If you do that, then part or all of your project may become ineligible. Providing that we don't need to request any further information from you, we aim to give you a decision in about 12 weeks. But if we do need to ask you for more information, then it's likely to take a little longer. Before you start, you'll need to familiarise yourself with a few things. Have another look at the grant handbook on gov.uk, as well as the letter that we sent you, which details some important items like the deadline for you to submit your full application and what to do if you can't meet the date. Please don't assume that you could just submit it later. The contact details for where you should send your full application, both electronic and hard copy. The contact details if you have any queries. We won't chase you, but if you'd like some advice or information, we're here. Advice to help you following our review of your expression of interest. So there are some points in there to think about and address potential issues in there. Please have a careful look at the Word application form, the Excel spreadsheet, and the guidance document that we have sent to you. At the back of the application form and in the guidance, there's a list of supporting information that you have to provide with your full application. If we don't receive these from you, we won't be able to process your application and it will delay our decision. So please, when you send your application in, please do double check that you have included everything that we asked for. It will take a little while to put this a good quality full application together. So please do take the time you need to put your application together, particularly doing your research and gathering your supporting information. We really want you to get the grant, so to help us to complete the checks and assessments that we need to do, please make sure we have everything that we ask for. Don't just skip over anything. And just a reminder, it's really important that you don't start any work at this stage. Please do make time to read the handbook and guidance that accompany the full application form carefully. Full application forms have been sent to you by email, and every question in the form is there for a specific reason. So please provide all the information that we've asked for, making it as clear and detailed as you can. Please don't rely on things that you may hear. Things do change and we may have updated elements over time. If you aren't sure, please do ask us. You don't need to send any additional information, such as a separate business plan or separate documents, unless it supports your application. If you want us to refer to a piece of research or a plan or some calculations, please provide it and clearly reference it within your application so that we understand you want us to look at it in relation to a specific piece of explanation or text. So, what do we look for at full application? We now test the information that you have sent through to us to check if anything has changed. Please use the space provided to tell us if anything has changed so that we can then check if the costs and the activity and yourself as the applicant are all still eligible. If we're unable to confirm that your project is eligible, we won't be able to support it, no matter how good your project is. As well as checking eligibility, we assess the strength of your project using the detailed information that you provide. I'll now hand over to my colleague Chris, who will take you through the detail of these sections.
So I'm going to talk to you about the eligible and ineligible costs. Costs like the construction of buildings, purchase of machinery, those are eligible, and that's noted in the handbook. There's also a list of ineligible costs in the handbook, and you can refer to those. If you've got any queries about whether costs are eligible or ineligible, you can get in touch with us and we can try and help. However, it might not be until you've submitted your full application and we've assessed it thoroughly as to when we're going to be able to decide. So, when you're filling in your full application, you need to remember that what you're really doing is telling us a story. And it's about the who, why, what, where, when and how of your full application. So you probably need to tell us a little bit about the background to your business. Where have you come from? How has it developed? Or if you're a new start business, just tell us where you got the idea from. You then need to think about how this fits into what your project is going to do. And then there are going to be things like how you've checked out the marketplace, what the demand is going to be, and these sorts of things. So hopefully you're picking up from this that there is a bit of a story to be told, and each part of the application is going to relate to one another. So even though you're writing individual sections, just think about how they do interact with one another to tell the story of your full application. One of the first sections that you need to be thinking about is the strategic fit of your project. Now this is broken down into two sections. There's the fit with the national priorities and there's also the fit with the local priorities. So you need to consider both of these. You've already told us some information about how your project fits with the national and local priorities when you filled in your EOI form and we've assessed it. We may have sent you some more information back in the letter that we sent inviting you to full application, so just check whether we've provided any advice to you. Then what you need to do is think a little bit further and a little bit more deeply as to how your project fits with both the national and local priorities. For each of the national priorities, the one for the theme that you're applying under, just have a look at those. There's a list of probably 4 or 5 in each section, but your project doesn't have to meet all of them. Think through carefully which ones your project will achieve. If you can do 2 or more, then your project will stand a greater chance of success. There are national priorities for each of the 3 different growth programme themes, and I'll take you through each of those now. For business development, the national priorities are whether a project creates jobs, how the project will grow your business, how the project will improve productivity through innovation, how the project will help open up new markets to your business, and if the project will help you to export. The national priorities for tourism infrastructure projects are to create jobs, how your project will extend the tourism season, and this is particularly around the period between October to May, developing tourist attractions and infrastructure, and what the wider benefits are to the tourism economy in the local area resulting from your project. The national priorities for food processing projects are how your project creates jobs, how your project will help to grow your business, increasing turnover and profitability, how your project will benefit the supply chain, and here we're very keen on understanding how it benefits local farmers and growers supplying the raw materials, how your project helps you access new markets, how your project improves productivity through innovation, and whether your project helps create joint ventures and partnerships. For food processing projects, we need to understand exactly what it is that you're doing. You need to tell us about the raw materials that are going into the process, and we also need to understand what the products coming out of your process, what you're actually selling as a result of what you're doing. Depending on whether the raw materials going in are on the Annex 1 list, and that's a list that is in the EU regulations, you may be able to have a higher amount of grant. But it also depends on the products that you're turning those raw materials into. For food processing projects, it's important that you tell us what the raw materials are that you're going to be using and the products that you're ultimately going to be selling as a result of your project. This is because it has an impact on the grant amount that you'll be able to apply for. So just be very clear in your full application what the raw materials are and what the products coming out are. We have already given you an initial assessment of these at the expression of interest stage, and so have a look at the letter that we sent you because there may be some useful information in there for you. When you're considering the local priorities of your project, make sure that you look at the information at the back of each of the handbooks. This information is from the local enterprise partnership area in which your project will be located. The local priorities are different depending on which area of the country you're in, so make sure you go and have a look. As with the national priorities, there are often several local priorities. You don't have to hit all of them, but it's sensible to go and have a look at the list and see which ones you do. Again, the more local priorities that your project will meet, the more likely it is that your application will be successful. When we're assessing your full application, one of the things that we're looking at is value for money. And we can test value for money by looking at the number of jobs that you're creating for the amount of grant funding that you're requesting. So you need to tell us about the number of jobs that your project is going to create. You also need to tell us whether these are part-time or full-time jobs. For us, a full-time job is anybody that is working for more than 30 hours per week. If somebody is working less than 30 hours a week, tell us the number of hours you anticipate per week that that person will be working, or those people will be working, and we'll be able to calculate up the fractions of the full-time equivalents. Make sure you're realistic about the number of jobs that your project will create. And we talked earlier about different parts of your application linking together. Your cash flow forecast should represent the wages that you're going to pay these people. So you need to make sure that the numbers tally between these two parts of your application. When you're telling us about jobs, please also tell us about the skill level of the people that you're going to be employing. This may help justify the cost that you're putting into your project and the costs that we may see in your cash flows. The other things we look at under value for money alongside the jobs that you're creating is the other outputs. So for a food processing project, this might be the number of new products or the ability to export. For a business development project, again, this might be the number of new products that you're creating or the markets that you're going to be moving into. And for a tourism project, this might be the number of visitors that will be coming to the attraction that you're creating, or that will be using the accommodation that you're building as a result of your project. So tell us about these in as much detail as you're able to. These outputs should be related to your market research, so please be realistic. Make sure that you're telling us what you believe you can achieve. Alongside the direct benefits of your project, there may be wider benefits, so tell us about those. One of the best examples is tourism projects. People that are coming to stay at the accommodation that you're building are going to be visiting and will be adding to the wider tourism economy, visiting other places, using cafes, going to pubs and having meals. This is all important, so tell us about these in your application. So we're now going to look at need for the project. There's several sections in this. There's the need for your business to do the project. There's the market need for the project, the demand to fill that market need, And there's the issue of displacement. So why does your business need to do the project? Just explain to us how this will be good for your business, how it will help it grow and expand, how you will employ more people, and what it's going to mean in terms of profitability and turnover. What's the market need that you've identified? Tell us about this, the sort of research that you've done that identifies that market need and how you're best placed to fulfill it. Tell us about demand. You might already have done customer surveys. For any type of project you may have done this, and that will help demonstrate that there really is need and demand for what you're wanting to do. So tell us about what you've done in order to show this. You also need to think about the issue of displacement. It's likely that every project will displace some activity. What we can't do is fund a project where all you're doing is taking business from your competitors. You really need to be showing us that there is demand in the marketplace and that the market is growing for what you're offering. We'll have already looked at this at the expression of interest and provided you with some information in the letter to try and help you if this looks like it would be an issue for your project. In the financial viability section of the application, we're looking to understand the impact of the project on your business and its finances. To start with, we need to have a look at the previous finances, so we need to see copies of your accounts if you're an existing business, or if you're a new start business, you need to provide us some information such as an opening statement of affairs. That just gives us a background to how the business is going to perform. As part of your full application, you'll need to think about and send us a cash flow forecast. This is going to be based on a range of assumptions associated with your project. So if it's a food processing project, it's the number of new products and the number of units of that product that you're going to be selling. You need to think about seasonality in the cash flows. That might occur in food processing projects, and it's definitely going to occur in tourism projects. So just think about that and work that into your cash flows. All of this information is important to us. We need to make sure that we're funding a viable business and that by you undertaking that project, it doesn't put your business at risk. So please think through these things carefully and provide this information. You also need to tell us about the deliverability of the project. In this, you'll be telling us how you're going to deliver the project and who's going to be responsible for it. It might well be you, but you may also need other people to help you. So you might have a project management team. You need to tell us about the skills and experience of these people in managing such a project. It could be that you've done something similar in the past. But if it's a very big, very new project, you may need to get some help. So make sure you tell us that you're going to do that. This will ensure that you deliver the project successfully. As part of this section, you need to think about the risks to the project. So risks are events that you could foresee happening. There could be a wide range of these. Could be some very obvious things like the weather affecting the number of tourists that you may be getting to your new tourist attraction. It could be, again, the weather affecting raw materials coming into your food processing project. Or it could be something such as changes in exchange rate if you're starting to export. There could be a wide range of risks, so think about these and put them in your application. But the important thing is, having identified these, think about what you could do to mitigate them. What actions can you take to reduce their impact should they occur? And again, talk to us about those in your application. As part of your full application, you will need to complete the spreadsheet which is on the project costs, the funding and the quotes. There's also a section in the full application document about this. Please tell us about where you're going to be getting the additional funding. You're asking for grant from us, but you're going to have to match that with funding from somewhere else, such as a bank loan. So tell us where you're getting that from and tell us about the amounts of money that you will be getting from these other sources. The project cost detail will go into the spreadsheet, but you also need to make sure that those costs are supported by 3 quotes or tenders. You should be aware that getting 3 quotes or tenders can take some time. So please ensure that you allow sufficient time in order to do it. Remember, people that you've asked for quotes may not actually provide you with one. So you don't just need to think about 3 people that can supply you with a quote, probably more than that. So, to summarise, what this video has been about is telling you about the timescales that are involved for you to submit a full application. It's going to take you some time to do the work, and then we need some time to appraise it. This video has also helped you understand the scope of the information that you need to complete a full application form, and how all of this information should tie together into a story telling us where your business has come from, what this project is going to mean to your business, and what it's going to mean to the rural economy going forward. Please remember that you must not start your project including incurring any costs or placing any orders until it has been approved by the RPA and you have signed a grant funding agreement. Any expenditure incurred before the project start date in the grant funding agreement may render your whole project ineligible for support. You can follow us across social media: Twitter @RuralPay, Facebook Rural Payments Agency, all one word, YouTube Rural Payments Agency, and our blog ruralpayments.blog.gov.uk.